Hello, everyone. This is Adrian Alexander, Caribbean Regional Coordinator for Free the Slaves and Secretariat to the Caribbean Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons. We have a very special interview today with some of our wonderful youth advocates from across the Caribbean as we meet with them, have some conversations around the work that they are doing, but also getting a perspective on how they feel about the selection of their video for CNN Freedom Project being included in the final cut for CNN's website. All right. So with me today is Cherisse Francis. Dr. Cherisse Francis is representing the Caribbean Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons. She's from the beautiful island of Barbados. So welcome, Cherisse.
Hi, Adrian. Thank you. It's a little weird to be on the other side of Caribbean Connection. Usually I'm co-host, but today I'm a guest.
Interviewing. We also have Judy Sango from the Nature Isle of Dominica. And Judy is representing Youth with Disabilities Connections. So hi, Judy. And of course, Judy is a member of the coalition. So certainly no
Hi.
stranger to Caribbean Connections.
Hi.
Nice to have you, Judy. And we have a new face and voice in terms of our Caribbean Connections podcast, Mr. Richard Pinas. He is from Suriname. So Richard is a CARICOM, youth ambassador, and he is from the lovely island. No, not island. I'll have to redo this when we do the editing. Okay. And last but not least, we have Richard Pinas, CARICOM youth ambassador from Suriname. Welcome, Richard. Nice of you to join us.
Hartelijk dank, Adrian, voor your warme verwelkoming in uw programma. Thank you. It's Dutch. I'm from Dutch Guyana, so I introduce myself in Dutch. But
That is
I'm
great.
grateful for the opportunity, Mr. Adrian, to be able to address your organization.
All right. Thanks so much, Richard. And I think everybody froze a little bit when we heard language that we didn't understand. But that's what the Caribbean is about, right? We have English,
Yeah,
we have French, we have
Dutch.
Dutch, we have Spanish, we have Haitian Creole. We have it all. We have
Don't
it
forget
all.
our patois because the Caribbean dialects are
Correct.
languages.
Yes, so true, so true. So every one of us has a unique way of communicating. And I think that's awesome. But tell us a bit about yourselves. We'll start with Cherisse in terms of your entry into youth advocacy and really what are some of the highlights of your advocacy work for and on behalf of youth in the Caribbean.
Thanks so much for that, Adrian. Oof, now we're gonna tell my age a little bit. So I have been involved in youth advocacy in the Caribbean for over a decade at this point. I started when I was a teenager in Barbados with our National Youth Development Council, which is our national youth council, eventually becoming the president of that when I was 18, I think. And that gave me the opportunity to engage with Barbadian youth, planning programs, planning projects, but also to engage with colleagues across the Caribbean because then I also became the alternate CARICOM Youth Ambassador for my country at some point. And I think I have always just wanted to speak for the underdog. It just so happened that I ended up studying law. So then juvenile justice and youth advocacy, youth development became a part of the area of law that I was interested in. So even through my academic career, I continue to remain focused on youth, young people, and Caribbean young people, especially, and those in conflict with the law. So I started then engaging from the perspective of trying to figure out how can our criminal justice systems be reformed to help young people. What did that look like? Then, even when I moved on, I became a part of the Commonwealth Human Rights and Democracy Youth Network. And then that led me to go to CHOGM, so the Heads of Government meeting in 2022, which was my first CHOGM. It was in Rwanda. And I was one of the youth facilitators for that, where then I got to engage with young people across the Commonwealth. Now I've switched modes a little bit. I'm on the side of mentor more than a young person now. As a lecturer, of course, I engage with young people on a daily basis, so now it is helping young people from a mentorship perspective, still though being very active using my platforms and voices to advocate for young people in the Caribbean based on what I've learned, what I've experienced, how I have been as a Caribbean young person. So yeah, that's me.
That's a great legacy that you're already creating as a young person, now mentoring others. Yeah. And yes, you're still a young person. So there.
According to the Commonwealth definition, I think I have a little bit more time.
All right. And Judy, tell us a bit about your entry into youth advocacy and some of the work that you have been able to accomplish.
Youth advocacy for me. Originally started as a child, growing up with a disability. My parents thought that it was a good thing to get me to socialize. But I like to say, little did they know they was laying the foundation for what would become my passion and my life's mission. So it started with me being engaged in Special Olympics, where I was one of Dominica's athletes. And after a medical emergency in 2012, at the age of 12, I was forced to sort of retire from sports, which I loved at that time. And after this, I said, you know what, this is probably an opportunity to still be engaged, but in something else. And so I chose advocacy itself. Um, and I, though I was not a registered member of the Dominica Association of Persons with Disabilities then, um, for a number of years, those who were leaders, they saw it fit to mentor me. And, basically, I became the child of the association. And for many years, I was lovingly mentored by the leaders. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, to fast forward a bit, I decided to start Youth with Disabilities Connections because I felt that during the pandemic, persons with disabilities, young people in particular, needed a safe space to communicate and still continue the conversations around disability. And so I thought the creation of Youth with Disabilities Connections would give us an opportunity while being indoors to have a safe space to communicate with others, to continue to share and to continue to dialogue. And after this, it continued and still continues to this day, where Youth with Disabilities Connections continues to be a safe space for young people with disabilities across the Caribbean. Um, Following the creation of Youth with Disabilities Connections, I decided to then become a member of the Dominica Association of Persons with Disabilities. And at the age of 23, I was privileged to have been elected as the youngest ever person to serve as the president in the organization's then 40 years of existence. And this has now transformed into what I call my life's mission, especially being a law student. I use every opportunity and every platform to, continue to echo the voices of young people with disabilities. And so almost everything I do to this day kind of revolves around advocacy and law and how we can continue to amplify the voices of young people with disabilities in particular. So this is a bit about my journey and life's work.
That is so inspiring, Judy. I love chatting with Judy. She wears maybe about a dozen hats, leadership hats, right? And I just never figure out how she manages to do it. Just a brilliant mind and a wonderful personality. And one thing that she didn't mention that I found out when I interviewed her for another podcast is that Judy's an author. She has written a book about what it feels like to grow up living with a disability and not seeing people who look like you in the pages of books. And she has brilliant, brilliant, Judy. Thank you so very much.
You're most welcome.
And Richard Pinas from Suriname. Tell us a bit about
Yes,
your entry into youth advocacy.
yes. Thank you for the opportunity once again, Adrian. As you said, my name is Richard Pinas. I'm currently the Male CARICOM Youth Ambassador of Suriname. My journey started actually in church. Um, we've been learned to be community helpers to help our neighbors. So I learned from the preachers, that we shouldn't just be in church talking about God or talking about the word, but we should go outside there to bring the light of Christ. So I started to go and do community work at elderly daycare centers. Um, I then joined UNICEF, and there I learned to do I learned advocacy from UNICEF. I also had the opportunity to speak 2 times in Parliament, because they found that I was good at speaking and then bringing forth their message. So they I had the opportunity to speak 2 times in our House of Parliament. I then joined GCI Junior Chamber International, where we also did some great works. We went also to I introduced them also to the day elderly daily care centers that I used to go. We went to we brought young people, young students to um how do you say this, to learn them some tools that they would need to be able to function effectively within their community. I've also been a part of the Caribbean Climate Justice Academy, where we do climate justice advocacy in the region. And after that, I applied to become CARICOM Youth Ambassador. And yes, it's been a successful journey till now. Please, people, my English is not that perfect, so I'm doing my best for you. And now I also have the privilege right now to be able to um, advocate for child labor, for against child labor, opportunity granted by the Caribbean Free the Slaves community, if I'm right. And I'm grateful for that journey.
Well, that's so
And yeah.
good, Richard. And believe me, your English is much better than our Dutch. All right. So you're doing a great job, honestly. I love chatting with bilingual and trilingual and multilingual people and how they are
My
able to
God.
just manage that flow of information. And yeah, so
We
kudos to
also
you.
have our native languages here. We speak a little bit of English, Dutch, Surinamese, and then you have our native languages. I also speak a little bit Hindi.
Ah, wow.
Yeah.
That is cool. I've heard Papiamento is that the name of your local dialect, Papiamento, or do I have that wrong?
Yeah. Yes, it's a mix of it.
I mix up. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, let me say something in it. Grantangi for a occasion that me can you in interview DC. Thank you for
Okay.
the opportunity to be able to do this interview.
Oh man, that is great. 4 or 5 languages. Kudos to you, Richard. That is cool. But maybe getting together in this particular structure for the project to create a video for the 10th anniversary of CNN Freedom Project. I mean, that was something we would have started discussing, I think, in February of this year. We met you for the first time through the CARICOM Youth Ambassadors program. Michelle Small Bartley referred you to us, and really, it has been a blessing knowing you.
Yeah.
Cherisse, I've known, I just missed meeting Cherisse in 2022. I understand that you left Rwanda, I think a day before I came in, or the same day that I came in, or something like that. We just missed each other then. Judy had the pleasure of meeting her in Suriname, Richard, in
Oh,
2024 for
wow.
an IOM conference that focused on climate mobility.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, this is a lovely
Oh,
tight circle.
I also forgot to mention that in March this year, I was appointed to the CARICOM Scientific and Technical Cooperation Center. So I'm also
Wow,
part of the cooperation, TSCC of the CARICOM.
awesome.
Yeah.
You see, you keep growing and expanding. You're coming like Judy now with multiple hats. And how do you manage them all? Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my God. It,
But
it's
like
a
coming
lot, but
together for that video project, how did that feel for you? I mean, with complete strangers and, people who you didn't really have a connection with per se. Was it an awkward, and we could probably do this in reverse, start with Richard, then Judy and Cherisse for this question. Yeah.
let me first say that I'm used to being in video conferences with young people from the region. So it wasn't that new for me, but I do have a little probably the accent. Sometimes I must listen very carefully to understand what they just said. So it wasn't new, but I was managing, and it's going great. It's going great, and I'm learning a lot from your organizations and also from the others.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Richard. Judy,
Yeah.
how about you? How was it for you? I know you participated in the Caribbean Anti-Trafficking Conference last year. And I mean, the number of hats you wear, you engage with people all the time. But how was it for this particular project working on this video?
For me, I must say it was a very pleasant experience getting the opportunity to work with everybody. For me, it was not much of a change, as you rightly said. I'm used to this. I mean, when you have more than 14 positions and you do this on a very regular basis, it becomes second nature. And so for me, it was an effortless opportunity to be able to collaborate with persons. Everybody on this was respectful and we were all working together with each other collaboratively because we all had that one mission of, putting something that was positive out there. And so for me, this was a beautiful experience.
Thank you so much, Judy. And Charisse, I mean, you are the epitome of cool and calm and under pressure. So, how did you find
Not
things?
sure that I would agree, but for me, it was really fun actually. Now that I tend to spend most of my time outside the UK, it's always really good to connect back with young people in the Caribbean and kind of hear what's actually happening on the ground in the Caribbean at the moment. What is it that young people who are still there are facing? What is happening so that I don't lose that sense of touch of where I come from as well. And Adrian, you and I are constantly talking. I think around last year, this time, we were talking about something else having to do with young people and human trafficking and how we could potentially bring that into the coalition's work. So I think this is a really good opportunity to work with the group that we were talking about getting involved. So I think that worked really well in terms of timing, but also just the energy that the two young people we have here, and Soleil-Marie, who's not here with us, brought to the project. So it was really fun for me.
Indeed, indeed. And there's kind of like a progression, right? Because it was a couple of years ago after meeting like Judy and a couple other people and having a conversation with the International Organization for Migration and realizing that there is no structured youth engagement and advocacy campaign in the region against human trafficking. There are many against the climate crisis, against bullying, against, child sexual abuse and exploitation, but none against this. So for me, it was really exciting to see people come together from different jurisdictions, different backgrounds, and realizing that even if they've never dealt with this specific issue before, there overlaps into other things that they do deal with, right? Now we were able to bring our respective backgrounds and interests and energies together to do something like a video. And as you mentioned, Soleil-Marie, because we had four of you amazing young people work on that video, and Soleil-Marie unfortunately is not with us, but she represents Sexual Assault Survivors Stand, an NGO based in Trinidad and Tobago, you know. So, Cherisse, this is your forte, this whole aspect of trafficking in persons, right? So I wouldn't ask you if you learn anything from this experience in terms of doing the video. But Judy, was there anything new to you in terms of the information that we collated on three key areas of success and three areas that need to be improved upon in terms of the Caribbean response to trafficking in persons in putting together this video? What are some of the things that you may have learned?
Um, I think what most stood out for me is the fact that I continue to learn. I think every time I collaborate with Adrian on something, I always end up learning something. And for me, it is just the fact that, you know, sometimes things goes on right around us and we can play a blind eye. So what I've learned from this experience is to sort of, play closer attention to what goes on around me. Because things may be happening right around you. And sometimes we are so busy and we are in our own space and bubble that we kind of tune out everything else that does not, immediately focus on us. So I've learned to pay close attention to others and the things that go on around me. And for me, this is the biggest thing that I've learned. Thank you.
You're welcome, Judy. Thanks so much for sharing that. And Richard, this may have been a first for you in terms of dealing with this topic. What were some
Yes.
of the things that stood out for you being involved in this project to record the video?
Yes, it was new for me because I never focused on this area before. So when you reach out, I like to go for new challenges. So when I saw Michelle drop it in a WhatsApp group, I said, wow, let me apply, let me go and do a deep dive to know more about this issue. So I learned a lot during our journey. I went on different sites to check on to see if I could find data on child labor in Suriname, and I found out a lot that you have many young people, especially those who come from Latin American countries coming to Suriname, that there are many young people that are being trafficked. I also saw yesterday this was a elderly woman who was caught in I think it was in the Netherlands with cocaine. They um how do you say it? She was asked to come to do some work here, and instead of coming here to do job, they gave her cocaine to smuggle to Europe, and she got caught, and the authorities informed us about it. So there are a lot of things going around us, and if I didn't get this opportunity, I wouldn't be able to focus on this area to see from, hey, this is also happening here in Suriname, and we need to come up with policies to tackle it. And I want to thank you once again for the opportunity for bringing it up, so we could look it from a youth perspective on how we can tackle this problem in Suriname. It's a serious problem, but to be honest, it's not getting the necessary attention that it needs in Suriname. So I would surely want to work with your organization on highlighting these issues and work with the government to tackle it.
That's so true, Richard. And, the dynamics of what trafficking could look like don't always follow the standard sex trafficking, victims in a brothel,
Yes.
labor trafficking in a sweatshop, on a construction site. Even as you mentioned, people get trafficked in forced criminality where they're forced to be drug mules,
Yes.
so exploiting someone's vulnerability, especially as you mentioned, this person was out of work and so many different factors can exacerbate vulnerability. We need to have an open mind, as it were, to see where exploitation resides, and then to track back to see if trafficking was part of that exploitation process. Because it looks different depending on the context. I'm really happy to hear that you were able to delve into some research and you're now able to identify when news reports come up, for instance, that, yeah, this is a case of trafficking, that is a case of trafficking. As Judy said, it's about being more aware of what is
Yes.
happening around you. Because
Yeah.
once you have that lens on, you see life totally different. Honestly, something that appears to be innocent or benign, you see it for what it is, and you appreciate, as you said, we need to do something about this. And it really grips your heart, especially in terms of child protection related issues. It grips your heart. You want to protect children from suffering this type of fate or that type of fate. So I guess that this has inspired you in some way, being part of this particular project. And
Yes. Yes, it has inspired. It was like a curtain was removed. Because I was like, this was actually around me. I wasn't looking at it this way. So it was enlightening. The curtain was removed, the iron curtain was removed, and I can see clearly now. And we will surely work on how we can bring more awareness to these issues in Suriname and also in
awesome.
the broader region.
Yeah. Good to hear it. When you spoke, it just reminded me of this quote from William Wilberforce. Back in the day, if you're familiar with the Caribbean history and the abolition of the slave trade first and then slavery in the then British Parliament. But he said, you may turn away after, you've been enlightened and you realize what is actually going on, but you will never be able to say that you didn't know.
Yes.
You'll
Yes.
never be able to say that you did not know. Once that veil is removed, you can't go back to life as normal. You just
Go
can't.
back.
You can't. You can't. So I'm really happy to see that smile in your face, that light in your eye that says, yeah, I've been bitten by that bug. And you know that, yeah, this is
Yeah.
gonna change.
Unfortunately, it has caught all of us. So welcome to
Ex
the club, Richard. Welcome to,
Like Cherisse dedicating her
I'm
life and
grateful.
career to this.
which is not the
Becoming
plan,
a
but here we are.
yes, and Judy as well. So we see things differently. And I think for me, getting together and doing this as people from across the region and reaching out to CNN Freedom Project, the coordinator. And after a few weeks, following my Freedom Day, I think it was last month, that I checked again on the CNN international website for the My Freedom Campaign page, and I realized, okay, the 2026 video is up. And I was looking at it. What do I see? I see a familiar face and voice. I hear a Suriname accent, and I realize that why? They selected our video that included, of course, Cherisse, Judy, Richard, and Soleil-Marie Collins, who's not able to be with us today. They selected part of that video for the final cut for CNN Freedom Project. And I was like, wow, hundreds and thousands of videos that they would have received as submissions, and they chose to include part of our Caribbean submission, So I was really elated. So how do you guys feel about that? I mean, I wasn't in the video, but I was so excited for all of you. But how do you guys feel about that? Judy, you want to start us off?
Well, I think I only realized that the video was up when you sent the link, Mr. Alexander. And to be honest, it brought joy to me to see that our video, out of many videos, was selected. As you guys probably know, this was not my first time doing this project, Mr. Alexander. I think this is either the second or third time. And So it was a pleasure to see Caribbean and familiar faces being selected for this. It means that our hard work was recognized. And it it meant that though we are Caribbean people, we can lend our voice to issues that are bigger than us in the Caribbean. The everyday issues that happen right around us, we are able to lend our voice. And so I was well pleased to see that our work was recognized. Thank you.
Awesome, Judy. So true. And Cherisse, how about you?
For me, I think it was really, really incredible. I think, Adrian, I spend a lot of time banging on about how anti-trafficking, the Caribbean doesn't get enough of a space. The Caribbean doesn't get a voice in the global discussions and global spaces. So it is often something that is seen as hidden within our cultures or not necessarily given enough attention. So this was one way to have a voice in a global space for Caribbean young people. And I think that that was really, really positive. And also, CNN, everybody knows CNN, right? So it's something with a reputation that is now acknowledged, recognized. There's some gravitas, some impetus behind what Caribbean young people are doing and have been doing, and what the fact that Caribbean young people have a voice, have an opinion on what is happening around them.
So true, Cherisse. So true. And Richard, seeing
Yeah.
as the aspect of the video, this segment that CNN included actually featured you as you were delivering the closing, I think, for our video. How did that make you feel?
Yes, I also felt joy, and I was a little bit shocked because I know that my English is not that perfect, but still they put mine out there, and I felt joy because what our voice, our Caribbean voice, was acknowledged. And there's a quote I've learned in the Caribbean that there's nothing wrong with the Caribbean that cannot be fixed by what is right with the Caribbean, and what is right with the Caribbean is its youth. So the voice of the youth was how do you say it, was loud and clear, and people heard it all across the world, and it was amazing. It was very amazing, and once again I'm very glad for the opportunity to participate in this and to be able to let our voices be heard, and I believe that it was heard loud and clearly.
Definitely agree with you there, Richard. That was a powerful closing. And I was so happy that CNN recognized that and they inserted it into the video. The expression on your face, it was just so cool. I get chills just watching it, just watching that. It was like, yeah, this guy means business. He definitely means business.
You,
Completely ended. We have to. Whoa! It was so good.
you
Yeah, and
also know how many difficulties we face around, to put it.
so so I think with everyone, we had maybe like about on average 4 takes for
Yeah.
everyone's video. And for those of you who are looking at this, you can see the video on the Caribbean Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons YouTube channel. So if you go to youtube.com/little at sign and CCATIP media, right? So you could just do a search for that. And you'll see we have a folder, a playlist for things that are being done around youth engagement and youth advocacy. So in recording it, we recorded 4 separate videos with Judy, with Cherisse, with Richard, who were here, and with Soleil-Marie, who wasn't able to make it for this discussion. And then, on average, for everyone, it was about like 4 takes to nail it. Um, and when I contacted Richard, he was attending, was it a CARICOM meeting? So he came out to his car and we realized that he had not seen this script from the week before, right? So he went through it, and we were able to say, okay, yeah. And when we did, I think it was the third take, it was like, whoa, he is like an actor putting on a character, you know, and he nailed it. And then there was a little issue, so that we had to do a fourth
Yeah.
take for one section of the video alone. But I really felt that the closing, he nailed that closing. He just nailed that closing. And I realized that, yeah, things may appear like they're going very wrong, but all things, all things work together for good, you know, all things work together for good. And
Yes.
because of how those are kind of like the bloopers in the background, which would not have made it into the video, right? But putting all of that together and realizing that, yeah, these are young people who are committed to make a difference. It's coming out in their voices, it's coming out in the work that they do every day, right? And in voicing this, you're hearing the commitment. They're adamant that this must not continue on their watch. No way. This must be, and Richard, completely ended, you know? That was, yeah, definitely completely
I
ended. And
I
CNN loved
send it
that.
to I send it to a friend of mine. She said, Richard, why did you have to put such face expression? Why did you have to press it like that? I said that I didn't plan to do it like that. It just came out.
And it was perfect. I think that is what would have grabbed the attention of the folks at CNN, that this was a strong finish. This came out like a deep, genuine commitment. Yeah. And yeah, so awesome work all around. And I mean, for me, it's like watching a plan come together, watching something that has been missing fall into place. And that quote that you just mentioned, Richard, that there's nothing wrong with the Caribbean, that what is right with the Caribbean cannot fix. And what is right with the Caribbean is its youth. And that just speaks to me. That really speaks to me. So what next? Yeah. Usually, you know, people start something and it's a one-off, but so what next is for World Day Against Child Labor. We're looking at that issue. Um, we've asked Richard from Suriname to bring that youth perspective. We're speaking with people from Haiti, Smith Maxime from the Caribbean Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons. He is co-executive director of Beyond Borders, an organization in Haiti that has been working to address this issue of child domestic servitude for years. I understand that we may also be joined by um, a young adult who is a survivor of child labor in Haiti. In addition, we'll be having a representative from the Employers Consultative Association in Trinidad and Tobago, so we get that business perspective. We'll also be having Dr. Marta Furlan from Free the Slaves. She's recently done a fact sheet on child labor in the Caribbean and developed a child-friendly resource with numbers to call in each of the CARICOM member states to report child labor. And we will have as our moderator for the webinar, Mrs. Diane Gordon Harrison, who is from Jamaica. Diane is the chair of the Caribbean Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons, but in Jamaica, she wears two very important hats. One is the National Rapporteur on Trafficking in Persons, and the other is the Children's Advocate for Jamaica. Just putting those two together, we can see how wealth of knowledge and information about how children are being exploited there. And again, in her role, she also collaborates with many of her colleagues across the region. So we're looking for really a very impactful webinar where we're not just going to be discussing the problem, but solutions. solutions that may be already written in some reports, solutions that are being implemented in different CARICOM territories. And last year, we would have done an interview with the representative from the ILO Caribbean office just before the launch of the most recent report by the ILO on child labor, which was done last year. We're really looking to see, yes, what needs to be done, what steps need to be taken, and as Richard said, what role youth must take in the design, the implementation, and the evaluation of some of these strategies, because you cannot say that you're developing something to protect youth and you're not involving them. That it just does not make sense, right? So we're looking to break that mold. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to meet you guys, and hopefully we will meet in person sometime soon at one of these many initiatives.
And
Cherisse, let's try
Adrian,
for Choga.
before we sign off, let's try for Choga. But before we sign off, thank you to you for always providing the spaces for our young people to have a voice and to engage in a way that is not tokenistic, but to be real, to be comfortable, and to start leading the solutions for where we're going. So thank you to you for that and for keeping us all together.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure.
You
So
also make me feel okay. You say what you
no, go on, Richard.
Then I say you also make me feel at home, although I'm not that English and all that. But I feel very at home when you are in the meeting and you're leading it. So thank you also for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to what we will continue to do on the area against child labor.
Okay, thanks so much, Richard. My pleasure.
And I
Judy?
share the same sentiments, Mr. Alexander.
Oh, it's our pleasure on behalf of Free the Slaves to really do this. It's a gap. It's a gap that should not exist in our region because there's so much brilliance in and from our youth, as each of you exemplifies, right? And we have to ensure that that comes to the fore. And just as some of you have been mentored and others of you are mentoring others, it's our privilege to be there in whatever capacity to provide encouragement and support to you, to shine, to flourish, to really become the leaders of today and tomorrow across our region. Yeah.
Yes.
So God bless each of you and your families, the work of your hands, whatever studies you're doing, whatever books you're writing, whatever, you know who you are. So good success to you. It's a pleasure. And those of you who are viewing, this has been a special episode of Caribbean Connections, as we have been privileged to speak with those who are the young people who participated in the production of a video for CNN Freedom Project in March of this year. And excerpts of that video were actually included in the final cut for the CNN My Freedom Day campaign. So just taking a little time to celebrate, a little time to encourage one another. And if you're a young person out there in the Caribbean listening to this, you can always get in touch with us through the Free the Slaves website or the Caribbean Coalition's website. That's freetheslaves.net or CCATIP.org. All right. So check out our other videos in the Caribbean Connection playlist and get involved. Don't just sit on the sidelines. Even as Richard and Judy have said, when you learn something about this, you can't just sit on the sidelines. You got to jump in, right? So bye-bye, everyone.